Now, this amendment is specifically to block recruitment practices and funding for recruitment practices on platforms such as twitch.tv.
So what you just saw there was AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, introducing an amendment in the House of Representatives which would block the U.S. Army and military from using live streaming services like twitch.tv and others to recruit people into the Army and military, especially people that are currently below recruitment age, people that are minors under 18. AOC notes a whole bunch of reasons to do this, and I'm going to play you the full clip, and then we'll come back and we'll break it down a little bit.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'd like to present this amendment by opening with the stance of the U.S. Marine Corps, which is that war is not a game. The Marine Service and, quoting the Marine Service brand and issues associated with combat are too serious to be gamified in a responsible manner. Now, this amendment is specifically to block recruitment practices and funding for recruitment practices on platforms such as twitch.tv, which are live streaming platforms that are largely populated by children well under the age of military recruitment rules. Children as young as 13 and oftentimes as young as 12 are targeted for recruitment forms that can be filled online. This amendment is in direct alignment with both those values, but also the values that children should not be targeted in general for many marketing purposes in addition to military service. And I think it's extraordinarily important, especially when it comes to emerging technology platforms, that intervention be taken extraordinarily seriously. Because once these lights are turned on, it's very difficult to roll them back. Right now, currently, children on platforms such as Twitch are bombarded with banner ads that link to recruitment sign-up forms that can be submitted by children as young as 12 years old. These are not educational outreach programs, but recruitment forms for the military. A Twitter account for the U.S. Army esports team linked to a page with, quote, register to win at the top, no details on what one could even win, and a sign-up form that, according to a tiny disclosure at the bottom of the page, consents to contact by an Army recruiter, again allowing people as young as 12 years old to submit this form. Viewers in the Army's Twitch channel are repeatedly presented with an automated prompt that says they could win an Xbox Elite Series 2 controller that costs upwards of $200 and a link where they can enter the, quote, giveaway. It too directs them to a recruitment form with no additional mention of a contest odds, total number of winners, or when a drawing will occur. Again, it's extraordinarily important that we approach and study emerging technologies, including live streaming, which is a platform that is exploding in youth, particularly among young people. And when it comes to issues of technology, I believe that we should act with reservation and caution first, rather than entering with both feet in and then trying to undo damage that could potentially be done. That's why I believe that we should, again, restrain and restrict ourselves from explicit recruitment tactics, not others, but recruitment specifically on platforms that children are using to play games like Animal Crossing, from Animal Crossing to Call of Duty. Additionally, there was also the extraordinary concern from the Marine Corps of conflating military service with shoot-'em-up style first-person shooters. We cannot conflate war and military service with this kind of gamified format. And with that, I yield. Thank you.
So what you can see is sort of right off the top, and she goes to it, back at the end as well, but she notes that war is not a game. The military itself has often said that. It's not. It's not fun. It's not a sport. It's not something that, anybody wants to do. It's an unfortunate reality of certain historical moments, but it's not a game. It isn't, and it should never be treated as such by individual service people or by the broader military. And yet, when twitch.tv has people let's playing and live streaming games like Call of Duty, and then the U.S. Army advertises recruitment on that stream, on that let's play, what's happening in effect is you're conflating Call of Duty, which is a video game, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm a video gamer myself. to the actual aspect of serving in the military, which again is not a game by any stretch of the imagination. And maybe adults get that. Maybe adults can make that distinction, but children maybe can't. People that are 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, maybe they don't understand that distinction. Maybe they don't get the fine gray line distinction when it's weaved together so organically. And AOC is right to be concerned about that. And she's also right to be concerned about the lack of transparency, because not only is, the U.S. Army sponsoring teams and, putting advertisements and banner links on a lot of these live streams and Let's Plays, but what they're doing is they're tying it to prizes. They're saying, click here, sign up, and then maybe you'll win a video game controller. Maybe you'll win a nondescript prize. And as AOC notes, they don't always tell you what prize. They don't give you the odds. They don't give you the number of prizes, etc. But what's clear in the fine print, it's not up at the banner always, that in effect, what you're signing up for is to be contacted by a U.S. recruiter, a U.S. Army or military recruiter who's going to reach out to you, trying to bring you into the military. And if you're a child, if you're a young person that hasn't discussed this with your parents, that's below the recruiting age, I think that's inappropriate. And I think a lot of people do as well. I think it's not the sort of thing that should be advertised to children. But one thing I think needs to be said here that goes beyond whether you agree with AOC or not, that goes beyond whether you think she's got a good point here or you think she's overreacting. I tend to think she's 100% right in this case. The fact is, though, it's nice to see politicians that actually have an understanding of technological realities of young people. That basically, for too long, whether Republican or Democrat, politicians have been, fairly old, and they haven't always been on the cutting edge of understanding the internet, especially youth culture on the internet. And so to have a politician that plays video games, AOC plays Animal Crossing, she plays League of Legends, she often talks about these things on Twitter, she's live streamed video games before, she's well versed in live streaming, not just in the video game sense, but also in terms of, live blogging and, doing live streams with her supporters and doing live stream town halls. She is connected to the internet culture in a good way. And I think that shows that it's good to have young politicians that understand the internet. We need politicians that understand what live streaming is, what Twitch is, the vast economic and social and political and cultural influence and potential of esports, of live streaming, of people making money playing video games, either competitively or, through the live streaming model where it's, they're building a social infrastructure, they're building a community. These are things that people in their 60s or 70s or 80s, I don't want to typecast too much, maybe don't really understand. But AOC in her 30s, she certainly does. And I think this is just one more reason why it's good to have younger politicians. And I think people on both sides of the aisle would understand and appreciate that value. So I support AOC's move here. I don't know if her amendment is going to pass. I don't know how broad the support will be for it. But what I do know is simply by bringing this up, she's informed a lot of people who don't spend time on Twitch or maybe don't even know what it is, that the military is using youth-oriented, sometimes teen-oriented platforms to recruit people before they're ready to make that decision. Even if the amendment doesn't pass, she's given people the information they need to better understand what their children are seeing. And that's a good thing.